talk about Under Pressure. I did a video on this already as part of this series called The Gospel of Rock, where I examined rock music in light of the gospel truth. But really, I'm talking about it, in light of, you might say Christian teachings, but ultimately I'm looking at it in light of the highest spiritual truth, and what I think to be the highest, what I have discovered thus far is A Course in Miracles. So I talk about it in light of A Course in Miracles. And one of the greatest songs, I think, of the rock era, whatever that is, however you define what the rock era is Under Pressure by David Bowie and Queen. So I asked AI about a DeepSeek AI, one of the AI systems. It's to tell the story, and I've told it on this channel before about how David Bowie and Queen were both in Switzerland at the same time. Queen was recording an album, and David Bowie showed up at their studio one night, and they started jamming, and David Bowie, and they were kind of playing around, I think, with different cover songs, and then David Bowie apparently said, "Let's write one. What are we doing? Let's write a song," and apparently they Queen had that riff, the bass riff, boom 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 boom, right, and probably some other elements, and then they took some cocaine and they stayed up all night or something, and they worked on the song, and it's a really brilliant song. It has a lot of different parts to it, different elements. It sounds like it sounds almost unscripted. It sounds like they just kind of were jamming together, right? I remember when it came out. It came out in like 81 or something, and then I forget exactly what I was thinking when I heard the song. I knew I liked it when I first heard it, and I thought it was really cool that David Bowie and Queen, because I already was listening I was listening to both of them, and I was enjoying the music of Queen and David Bowie, and I thought it was really cool that they it might have been 82, 81, 82, 83, I forget which year it came out. It'll probably talk about it, but I thought the song was really cool, and I knew I really liked it from the very beginning. So please tell the story of how the song Under Pressure came to be written. Who wrote most of the lyrics, Bowie or Mercury? I tend to think that Bowie did, but you're going to hear that Mercury apparently and Roger Taylor wrote most of the lyrics. Let's talk about what makes the song great. I think it's one of the greatest rock pop songs ever. And also I'd like to talk about its message in terms of A Course in Miracles and its quote-unquote gospel undertones. I've done a whole series on YouTube called The Gospel of Rock, and I've already talked about this song, but would like to do it again using AI. Right? So here's AI now, talking DeepSeek AI. The creation of Under Pressure is one of the most fascinating and serendipitous collaborations in rock history. The song was born in 1981 when Queen and David Bowie found themselves working together at Mountain Studios in Montreux, Switzerland. Initially, they were just jamming on random ideas, including reworking a Queen track called Feel Like, which later evolved into Cool Cat. But as the night wore on, magic began to happen. So I was wrong. They weren't doing cover songs. They were working on some of Queen's songs, I guess. They were just jamming around. How the song came together, improvisation and tension. According to the band members, the session was intense, with Bowie and Freddie Mercury bouncing ideas off each other, sometimes clashing, sometimes harmonizing. Brian May recalled it as a very anarchic, chaotic session, but out of that chaos emerged something extraordinary. The Bassline That Changed Everything. John Deacon played the now iconic bass riff, which Vanilla Ice later infamously sampled for Ice Ice Baby, but he didn't sample it exactly the same, right? It was not the exact same riff. Bowie and Mercury latched onto it and the song began to take shape, right? They started with that bass line. Lyrical collaboration. Both Bowie and Mercury contributed to the lyrics, but accounts differ on who wrote what. Roger Taylor said Mercury penned most of the words, while Bowie helped refine them. I tend to think that Bowie, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm kind of doubting Roger Taylor's story here, but I'd like to. Wouldn't we all like to be a fly on the wall that night to see what was really happening there? The call and response structure, pressure pushing down on me, feels like a dialogue between the two icons, blending Mercury's operatic flair with Bowie's poetic ambiguity. What makes this song great? The vocal chemistry, the interplay between Mercury's raw power and Bowie's haunting tone creates an emotional tension that's unmatched in rock. The groove. That bass line is hypnotic, and the track's dynamic shifts from quiet introspection to explosive release, mirror the theme of societal and personal pressure. Yeah, that's one of the great aspects of the song, is that it has dynamics, right? Not a lot of songs have dynamics, right? Where you start very, it's very in a very humble, right? Boom, 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 right? And it starts slow, and it builds, and it tells a story, and it builds until it hits that climax at the end, and then it comes back down again, right? It comes back down just to the bass line again, and the piano, and it's magical, right? It's a magical song. The message, it's a song about empathy, urging listeners to recognize the suffering of others. Why can't we give love one more chance? The line, love's such an old-fashioned word, and love dares you to care for the people on the edge of the night. I think that's Bowie's line, because he sings it, right? I think Bowie probably wrote that line. It feels almost spiritual. This is Deep Seek says, feels almost spiritual. It is spiritual. Music is I think by its very nature, it's spiritual, right? It doesn't matter, just about any music. But this song in particular, right? And it definitely is like almost like gospel-esque in its message, like care for the people, the downtrodden, downtrodden, the people that, the weakest links of the chain, right? The people in society that are hurting the most, right? Maybe, talking about all of us really, but it's a call for social justice and for caring, right? Caring about other people's suffering. Under Pressure and A Course in Miracles. Your Gospel of Rock series sounds like a perfect lens for this. The song's themes align beautifully with ACIM's teachings, fear versus love. ACIM teaches that all pain stems from fear, and the only remedy is love. Under Pressure echoes this. It's a terror of knowing what this world is about. Right? That's a great line in the song. It's a terror of knowing what this world is about, but counters it with a plea for compassion. Right? So it's the song just brings up that very fundamental thing, of realizing what the world really is, but there is a way out, right? There is a way, and it's love. Shared humanity. The song's bridge, why can't we give ourselves one more chance, mirrors ACIM's idea that we're all interconnected through love, and that separation is an illusion. Right? Why can't we give ourselves one more chance? Why can't we, it's still, there's still time. Right? There's still time for redemption, right? There's always time. Redemption through love. The song's climax feels like a call to awaken from the ego's pressures, much like ACIM's emphasis on choosing love over fear. Right? So we're all under pressure. We're all dealing with the ego. And, the world is the world. What we're always dealing with is our own ego. how, we're always dealing with our own inner process, our own journey of awakening. That's really what we're always dealing with, because the world is not changing. The world is the same as it's always been, right? For all we know, you know, I mean, I think it's pretty much a given, but we don't know how things have changed. But I think the world hasn't really changed much, in 2,000 years, 4,000 years, thousands and thousands of years. It's probably more or less the same, right? It's the same basic issues in the human condition, has not probably changed at all. I would think, right? One would think. Gospel undertones. The song's structure, building from despair to near gospel crescendo, resonates with spiritual liberation anthems. The repeated "give love" could be a sermon in itself, urging listeners toward a higher, more compassionate state of being. That's my favorite part of the song. It's the climax of the song. Is why can't we give love, give love, give love, right? And it's asking the question, but it's also saying give love, right? Would you like to explore specific lyrical parallels with ACIM, or dive deeper into how the music itself, the chord progressions, the vocal harmonies, reinforce the spiritual message of the song is goldmine? So I said, well, let's dive deeper into Under Pressure first. But I actually said I'll let you lead the way. So Deep Seek says, let's dive deeper into Under Pressure first by exploring its musical and lyrical brilliance, then by unpacking its spiritual and philosophical dimensions, especially in light of A Course in Miracles and gospel themes. Finally, we can discuss how this fits into your Gospel of Rock framework. All right. The musical alchemy, why this song works so well, the vocal dance of duality. Freddie Mercury and David Bowie's voices aren't just harmonizing, they're in cosmic dialogue, right? That's what it feels like. Freddie's operatic passion versus Bowie's detached coolness creates a push-pull tension, mirroring the song's theme of societal pressure versus individual vulnerability. The call and response, pressure pushing down on me, feels like two sides of the same psyche. The ego, Bowie's controlled delivery, and the soul, Mercury's raw outbursts. You might say, some people say, that Mercury takes his vocal performance outshines David Bowie, but I think it's not about who's better in the song. I think it's really just it's about the interplay of the two voices and how cool it is that these two of the greatest rock stars and artists, voices of that whole generation came together to put together this amazing song, right? The bass line as a spiritual pulse. John Deacon's iconic riff isn't just catchy, it's hypnotic, almost meditative. Its repetitive heartbeat-like throb mirrors the inescapable weight of modern life, theme Bowie explored in 5 years, and Queen in The Show Must Go On. Yet when the song breaks into the Give Love climax, the bass shifts to an uplifting, almost gospel-like resolution, symbolizing liberation from fear. Have to listen to the song again to listen to the bass. There's a great live version. Annie Lennox did it with David Bowie. I haven't listened to Queen's live versions as much as David Bowie's. He did one with a woman, I'm forgetting her name, but her last name is Dorsey, and she plays bass and sings. I think it's the best live version that I've heard. So, and you can listen, just put in Under Pressure Bowie live, and it'll come up. Structure as a journey, the song builds like a psychological spiritual crisis and breakthrough. Verse 1, observation, pressure burning people out. 2, pre-chorus, despair, it's the terror of knowing. Chorus, catharsis, why can't we give love? Bridge, plea, turned away from it all. Finale, the chaotic overlapping vocals in the outro feel like a collective cry for redemption. I don't know, do we want to keep going here? I'm just going to read the final thought. I'll try to put this all in the description. You can read it on your own. Under Pressure isn't just a song, it's a musical sacrament. it takes the anxiety of modern life and through sheer sonic force transmutes it into a prayer. That's why it still resonates. It's not just about healing, it is healing. All right. I could say more, right? Could say more about that, and we should say more, or better, just listen to the song, and let the song change you. Let the song, remind you. Let the song bring you more into your heart, even more into your heart. And listen to that live version with Bowie and I think it's Gail Dorsey. I forget her full name, but she's really good. And the fact that she can play bass and sing like that at the same time is amazing. Then I asked, not to bring the mood down here, but everyone's talking about the Epstein files, so I thought I'd have a little twist here at the end and talk about David Bowie getting together with a 14-year-old girl and other rock stars, right? That were with underage women, and how we kind of have a double standard in our society. When we talk about Epstein and Trump, it's a horrible thing that they were with underage women. It's considered pedophilia, right? But when a rock star does it, do we feel the same way? David Bowie with a 14-year-old girl. Is it the same? Do we feel the same way about it? All right. So DeepSeek says, this is a heavy but important conversation. Let's break it down thoughtfully, separating verified facts from allegations, examining the broader cultural context of rock's history with underage relationships, and addressing the double standards in public perception, especially when politics, fame, or artistic mystique shield figures from scrutiny. This is a whole nother video. I should probably do a whole nother video on this, but let's just put it in here for now. The Laurie Maddox case. The claim: Laurie Maddox, a well-known groupie of the 1970s, has publicly stated that she lost her virginity to Bowie at age 14 or 15 in the early 70s. She described it as a consensual, but also acknowledged the power imbalance. Bowie's silence. Bowie never publicly addressed her claims before his death. The groupie culture of the 70s normalized teen girls with rock stars. Maddox had also had relationships with Jimmy Page, Mick Jagger, and others while underage. Key question: does Bowie's artistic genius excuse this? Does the era's cultural permissiveness mitigate it, or is it indefensible? Full stop. Rock's dark history with underage girls. I prompted AI on this, and even rock songs have there are some rock songs about underage relationships. Even like the Beatles, she was just 17, you know what I mean, right? Jimmy Page had a multi-year relationship with Laurie Maddox starting when she was 14. Steven Tyler legally adopted 16-year-old Julia Holcomb to circumvent age of consent laws in the 70s. Ted Nugent wrote Jailbait and allegedly had a relationship with a 17-year-old with parental consent. Chuck Berry arrested for transporting a 14-year-old across state lines, though his case was racially charged. And apparently he went to jail for that. Bill Wyman dated 13-year-old Mandy Smith in the 80s. They later married when she was 18. Why does this persist? Rock's rebellion myth. The sex, drugs, and rock and roll ethos often framed exploitation as liberation. They had lyrics, songs like Christine 16, Young Girl. Christine 16 was by Kiss. Young Girl by Gary Puckett. My Sharona, The Knack, about a 17-year-old romanticized underage attraction. Industry protection, managers, labels, and media often shielded stars from consequences. Double standards, politics versus rock. Why are rock stars treated differently than politicians? Artistic aura. Society often separates the art from the artist, especially if the music feels transcendent. For example, Bowie's legacy versus Epstein's elite circle, right? So you say with Bowie, well, he was so great, he's universally acknowledged as one of the great artists of the 20th century. Not just rock artists, but one of the great vocalists and songwriters of the 20th century. cultural nostalgia, many fans excuse or downplay these acts because they're tied to beloved music. And don't forget that when this happened with Bowie, he was in his 20s. Like, he wasn't like in his 40s or 50s. That's a difference, right? Epstein and Trump were 40s, 50s, probably in their 40s. Lack of legal reckoning. Most cases were never prosecuted due to the errors, lax attitudes, or statute of limitations. But should they be? If we condemn Epstein's ring, should we also condemn Page, Tyler, or Bowie with the same fervor? Or does the artistic contribution versus pure predation create a moral gray area for some? I think it does, actually. Rock songs about underage girls. Some tracks are shockingly explicit. Sweet Little 16, Chuck Berry. Jailbait by Ted Nugent. 17, Winger. Lola by the Kinks. Well, Lola is really more about transgenderism, actually. Why Does This Fly? Rock as a rebel genre. Taboo topics were part of the shock appeal. Veiled language, terms like Little Schoolgirl by the Rolling Stones or Young Thing, Bowie's Sweet Thing, could be read creepily in hindsight. Let's just finish this, right? Because we started it. Where do we go from here? Reconciling art and morality. Can we still love Bowie's music? Many argue yes, but with awareness. Should these songs be canceled? Some lyrics haven't aged well, but censorship is tricky. Contextual criticism may be better. The bigger issue, the music industry still has a problem with power imbalances. See R. Kelly, Lost Prophets, recent allegations in punk emo scenes. A Course in Miracles perspective, right? This is an ongoing thing. This is not just back in the 70s. Course in Miracles perspective, forgiveness versus accountability. ACIM teaches that all acts stem from fear, but does not excuse harm. Can we hold space for both the art's beauty and the artist's flaws? Well, let's also just bring in the idea of consent, right? These women were not raped, apparently. This was consensual, but you could say, well, how much consent could there be with a 13 or 14-year-old girl, or even a 17-year-old girl with a famous figure? Love is the answer, but love also demands truth and justice. Final thoughts. This isn't just about Bowie. It's about how we process the sins of our cultural idols. Do we separate art from artists entirely? Recontextualize their work with honesty? Reject them completely if their actions cross a line? I wouldn't reject them completely. I would recontextualize their work with honesty, right? Number 2. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope that was helpful a little bit. I hope I didn't damage the first part, by bringing that up in the second part. But it is, the topic of the moment. And obviously Under Pressure is not the topic of the moment, but I think it should be. Right? If anything, I think the message of Under Pressure and, it's like, keep coming back to that song, right? And other songs like it, because that song, I think Bowie understood it to be one of his great achievements, that song. I don't know about Freddie Mercury, but I think Queen probably did as well. But I think Bowie understood this is one of his great things that he did, right? And I think he kind of was the ringleader, is my guess, in the song coming to be. Like, he showed up at the studio with Queen that night. He probably had in his mind, let's do a song. He probably had in his mind, we're going to do a song. We're going to write a song, right? And he got them to do it, and it all came together, just as you would think it would. These great minds coming together. How could they not produce something magical? So anyway, thanks for listening. Would love to hear your comments on this, and rock on.